Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurudmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Hare Krishna. So we will continue Brahma's prayers to the creative energy of the Lord, or to the Lord specifically. And we'll see in the Bhagavatam time and again this phenomena that is happening, that is, we will have some storyline going on, and suddenly the Bhagavatam will turn into a prayers. So Bhagavatam is filled with so many prayers, so many different devotees are offering prayers, and these prayers bring about wonderful philosophical conclusions, and that is one aspect. Another aspect is this also goes to say that the Bhagavatam is the topmost literature, and in that topmost literature, the most of the portion of Srimad Bhagavatam is on prayers. So this goes to say that no, prayers are a very important factor in our life. So we have many times discussed this thing. Whatever we need to get, it is all by the blessings of the Lord. And if that is what is the key thing, if blessings of the Lord is the key thing, so then the key activity that we need to do is pray to the Lord. And if the Lord is moved by our prayer, so we can get things done. So, and the ultimate thing that we want to get done is to attain his lotus feet and to be permanently situated back in our original home, that is the spiritual world. Right? So that's our ultimate goal and destination. So this is what we will find in Srimad Bhagavatam again and again. So now we'll see from Sloka 4 onwards of the chapter 9 of third canto. Tadva idam bhuvana mangala mangalaya dhyanes mano darshitam ta upa sakhanam tasmai namo bhagavate anuvidhema tubhyam yonadhrito narakabhagir asatpasangaihi. So this present form, or any transcendental form expanded by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, is equally auspicious for all the universes. Since you have manifested this eternal personal form upon whom your devotees meditate, I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Those who are destined to be dispatched to the path of hell neglect your personal form because of speculating on material topics. So here Brahmaji is mentioning he has got darshan of this form, that is Garbhodakashaya, Vishnu's form, and like he was previously searching and he couldn't able to get, and after a long tapasya he was given the vision to see the Lord, and then he is mentioning that the darshan of the Lord is so auspicious, really very auspicious. So in this world we are able to see so many things, but if it is connected to Krishna, or if our perception is connected to Krishna, then it is auspicious, otherwise it is not. And then we can imagine directly the form of the Lord, so that is how much more auspicious. It is very auspicious actually. And here he is telling those people who are destined to go to the hell, so they don't appreciate the personal form of the Lord. So, so that goes to say it's just an inverse definition. Those who are fortunate, No, they only can appreciate the personal form of the Lord. Okay. Purport. Regarding the personal and impersonal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth, the personal form exhibited by the Lord in his different plenary expansions are all for the benediction of all the universes. The personal form of the Lord is also worshipped in meditation as Super Soul, Paramatma, and the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Super Soul, Paramatma, but the impersonal Brahma Jyoti is not worshipped. Persons who are addicted to the impersonal feature of the Lord, wherein meditation or otherwise, are all pilgrims to hell because, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 12.5, impersonalists simply waste their time in mundane mental speculation because they are addicted more to false arguments than to reality. So it is mentioned there, Kleshodikattaras tesham avyakta shakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkam dehavabdiravakyate. So it is very, very difficult path. This avyakta, or the unmanifested form, or the meditation on the impersonal form. Krishna personally says that it is very difficult path, and it is filled with so much of miseries. It's filled with so much of self-denial and so much of miseries. But the worship of the personal form of the Lord is always very blissful. So we can have nice prasadam, we can have the darshan of nice deities, and we can chant the holy names of the Lord, which is also very sweet, right? So, and we can hear the narrations and glories of the Lord, which is also very sweet. So, but then the worshippers of impersonal form, sometimes they deny no, so many things they deny actually. So they don't eat nice foods thinking that, oh, this is all material. And then even if you offer some nice varieties of foods, they will all mix it up, and then they will make a tasteless combination, and then they will have, and then they will deny so much of what is it, anything that is there in this world. They'll deny, and they'll live a very, very austere life. So even the life in itself is very miserable. And at the end of the life, what is that they are looking for? They are looking for the impersonal Brahman, and there is no much of happiness there. I think we discussed this sloka sometimes. Sukha Rupa Sukhadaraha Sarkara Pindavan Matam Sri Krishna Charana Dvandvam Sukham Brahma Tu Kevalam. So it says that Sukha Rupa and Sukha Adara. So there is a form of happiness and there is a source of happiness. Just like the sugar is both a form and source of sweetness. So you can add sugar to a preparation, and then you can make it sweet, and then sugar itself is also sweet. So in the same way, we see that sweet rice is a form of sweet. You can taste and it is sweet, but you cannot add a sweet rice to another preparation and make it sweet. So in the same way, like Brahman is definitely a form of happiness, but it cannot give happiness to anyone, because it is not the source of happiness. The source of happiness is the Supreme Lord. Who's making the Brahman blissful. That itself is Supreme Lord. And only the Supreme Lord can give happiness to us. The impersonal Brahma Jyoti cannot give happiness to us. So this is from Brahad Bhagavatamrita, this sloka is, and written by Sanatan Goswami. And he mentions this wonderful gem of a sloka, says that impersonal Brahma Jyoti, it is a form of happiness, but then it is not the source of happiness. It cannot give happiness to others. Right? Okay. So here we see that impersonalists simply waste their time in mundane mental speculation because they are addicted more to false arguments than to reality. Therefore, the association of the impersonalist is condemned herewith by Brahma. All plenary expansions of the personality of Godhead are equally potent as confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Deeparchi devahi dashantaram abhyupetya deepayate vivata hetu samana dharma. So this is very amazing example is given. Deeparchi devahi dashantaram. So deepa, like if you take a candle, or a lamp, the Kartik month we are offering a lot of lamps to the Lord. So this, like if you take a candle, for example, like if you light a candle, using a candle, if you light another candle, so both of them will be equal capacity, equal quality, equal capacity. So that is like, samana dharma. So they are they both are equal. Both the candles will be equal. So, but still the original candle is original candle. The first candle is the first candle. So all the candles are of equal power, but then still the first candle is the first candle, right? So, Yastadrigeva hi cha Vishnu taya vibhati govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. So Govinda or Krishna is the first candle, and then through him so many other candles are lit. All of them are of same capacity and potency. So here we see, we had discussed this other example also sometimes, that is the example of the moon. So full moon and partial moon. So the moon is not different. It is only the visible portion of the moon is different in a full moon and a partial moon, right? So the moon is not even cut to pieces, not to have a partial moon. It's only a portion of the moon is hidden. That's all. So in the same way, when Krishna displays his full capacity, so then when God displays his full capacity, then he's in the form of Krishna. And when he chooses to hide some portions, so then he comes the form of the Vishnu Rupas, right? So in that way, like we see this particular sloka from Brahma Samhita, it actually puts this particular idea. So Lord Brahma, in the beginning of dawn of the creation, after his tapasya, he gets to see the form of the Lord, that is Krishna's form, and then he's glorifying Krishna. In that he is mentioning this particular aspect. So about the aspect of this candle analogy, where so all the candles are same, one and the same, but then one candle is the start or beginning candle, the first candle, and that is Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. So that Govinda, that Adipurusha, I worship. So that's how Lord Brahma is concluding. Okay, the Lord expands himself as the flames of fire expand one after another. Although the original flame or Sri Krishna is accepted as Govinda, the Supreme Person, all other expansions such as Rama, Narsimha, Varaha are as potent as the original Lord. So this also is mentioned in Brahma Samhita, same text. Lord Brahma mentions Rama Adi Murti Shikala Niyame Natishtan Nana Avataram Akrod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Right? So in that, Lord Brahma says that Ramadi Murtishu Kala Niyamena Tishtan Nana Avataram. There are so many different avatars are there of the Lord. And list is endless. There is Advaitam, Achyutam, Anantam, Ananta Rupam. So there is unlimited number of forms are there. But then, Krishna Swayam Samubhavat. So the Swayam Bhagavan or the original personality of Godhead is Krishna. Krishna Swayam Samubhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So Brahma is telling that original person, that Swayam Bhagavan, Krishna, so that one, I worship. Even in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, third chapter, we have a list of 24 incarnations. Actually it is unlimited number of incarnations, but then Srimad Bhagavatam gives 24 in number, which includes Dashavatar and even more. And at the end, it is mentioned that, what is that? Itecham Sha, Kalapum Saha. All that has been described till now is Amsha or Kala. It's actually portions of the Supreme Lord. Just like a moon. So in the moon, like a portion of moon, if you see, like it is called as the partial moon. So in the same way here we see that if Krishna chooses to hide certain qualities, so then he becomes one of the avatars, Kala or what is that? Amsha, Amsha and Kala. So then it is mentioned, Etecha Amsha Kala Pumsaha Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Indriyari Vyakulam Lokam Mridayanti Yuge Yuge. So this Krishna, he comes personally or he comes in any one of the forms, and he keeps managing this material world. He keeps coming in that way. So the Srimad Bhagavatam also concludes that Krishna is the ultimate personality of Godhead and he is the original person. All others are expansions of him, right? Okay, all such expanded forms are transcendental. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is made clear that the supreme truth is eternally uncontaminated by material touch. There is no word jugglery of There is no jugglery of words and activities in the transcendental kingdom of Lord. All the Lord's forms are transcendental, and such manifestations are ever identical. The particular form of the Lord exhibited to a devotee is not mundane, even though the devotee may retain material desires, nor is it manifest under the influence of material energy, as is foolishly considered by impersonalists. So, impersonalists who consider the transcendental form of the Lord to be products of the material world are surely destined for hell. So, anybody who, um, like, what is that? Anybody who explains the form of the Lord as being material, no, it is called as Naraki Buddhi. No, it is called as an intelligence of a person who wishes to go to hell. No, so that's the condition. Okay, text 5. Ye tu tvadiya charanambuja kosha gandham jigranti karna vivarai shrutivata nitam bhaktya grihita charana paraya chatesham na bhaisi nata hridayam buruhat swapumsam. O my Lord, persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. For them, you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. A very nice description of the aspect of the Lord's devotees. The persons who smell the aroma of your lotus feet, carried by the air of Vedic sound through the holes of the ears, accept your devotional service. Very, very poetic way it is mentioned. Like how do we get the smell of the lotus feet of the Lord? If we smell is something that is to do with the nose, right? So, but here we see that those who allow the Vedic sound vibrations to go into the holes of the ears, so then they are called, it is equivalent to smelling the aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord, right? So, and such people, they accept devotional service. For them, you are never separated from the lotus of their hearts. Okay, purport. For the pure devotee of the Lord, there is nothing beyond the lotus feet of the Lord, and the Lord knows that such devotees do not wish anything more than that. The word tu specifically establishes this fact. The Lord also does not wish to be separated from the lotus hearts of the pure devotees. That is the transcendental relationship between the pure devotees and the personality of Godhead. Because the Lord does not wish to separate himself from the hearts of such pure devotees, it is understood that they are specifically dearer than the impersonalists. The relationship of the pure devotee with the Lord develops because of devotional service to the Lord on the authentic basis of Vedic authority. Such pure devotees are not mundane sentimentalists, but are factually realists because their activities are supported by the Vedic authorities who have given oral reception to the facts mentioned in the Vedic literatures. The word paraya is very significant. Para bhakti, or spontaneous love of God, is the basis of an intimate relationship with the Lord. The highest stage of relationship with the Lord can be attained simply by hearing about Him, His name, form, qualities, etc., from the authentic source like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, recited by pure, unalloyed devotees of the Lord. So, we are trying to do this thing. We, as Srila Prabhupada has described these glorious things, as Srimad Bhagavatam slokas are explained by Srila Prabhupada, we are trying to read and hear, and it is mentioned. So, it is a very, very nice incentive for all of us. It is mentioned this higher stage of relationship. What is that? Okay, this higher stage of relationship, that is the perfection of love of God, with the Lord, can be attained simply by hearing about Him. That is His name, form, qualities, etc., from authentic sources like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And whose explanation we are reading? We are reading Srila Prabhupada's explanation. So that is also very amazing, right? So in this way, like we are getting such a wonderful opportunity to march forward towards our desired goal of attaining the pure love of God, just by reading these wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, text 6. Tavad bhayam dravina deha suhran nimittam shokaspruha paribhavo vipulascha lobah tvam tavan mameti asadav avagraha arti moolam yavan nathengri abhayam prani pravrinita lokah. O Lord, the people of the world are embarrassed by material anxieties. They are always afraid. They always try to protect wealth, body, and friends. They are filled with lamentation and unlawful desires and paraphernalia, and they avariciously base these undertakings. Avariciously. Hmm, just a minute, Alice. Avaricious means having or showing an extreme greed for wealth or material gain. Okay. So they avariciously base their undertakings on perishable conception of my and mine. As long as they do not take shelter of your safe lotus feet, they are full of such anxieties. Hmm. Nice sloka. Tavat bayam dravina deha suhrun nimittam shokaspruha paribhavo vipulascha lobah tavan mameti asad avagraha arti moolam yavan nathengrim abhayam pravinita lokah. Purport. One may question how one can always think of the Lord in regard to his name, fame, quality, etc., if one is embarrassed by the thoughts of family affairs. So, means one is like fully occupied by the thoughts of worldly thoughts. So then, how we can uh, get the remembrance of the Lord's name, fame, qualities, etc. So everyone in the material world is full of thoughts about how to maintain his family, how to protect his wealth, how to keep pace with friends and relatives, etc. Thus, he is always in fear and lamentation, trying to keep up the status quo. In answer to this question, this verse spoken by Brahma is very appropriate. A pure devotee of Lord never thinks of himself as the proprietor of his home. He surrenders everything unto the supreme controller of the Lord, and thus he has no fear for maintaining his family or protecting the interest of his family. Because this surrender, because of this surrender, he no longer has any attraction for wealth. Even if there is attraction for wealth, it is not for sense enjoyment, but for the service of the Lord. So here it's a very, very important principle that has been mentioned. So if till the time we worry about our family and and the maintenance of the family and the economic situation and things like that, the Lord doesn't worry about it. So when we take shelter of the Lord and we say like I'm not going to worry about my life and things like that, then Lord takes tension. Oh no, my devotee is not going to worry about his life. So then I have to worry about his life. So somebody has to worry about the life. So if we are worrying about it, then the Lord doesn't worry about it. So then if we don't worry about it and we only worry about the service of the Lord, so then the Lord takes the tension to maintain, right? So it is like there is one nice funny pastime is there. So wherein Arjuna takes this vow that tomorrow I will kill Jayadrath in the battle, and then he takes a vow and he goes to sleep. In the night he is sleeping peacefully, and then in the middle of the night he gets some wakefulness. He sees no Krishna is walking up and down, and he's asking, no Krishna, why are you not taking rest? Why are you so looking so tensed? So then Krishna says, no, you devotees, you keep taking vows, and who will fulfill all these things? No, I'll have to take care of all those things. That is why I'm not sleeping. No, I'm thinking what to do. So in this way we see that no, this is just in a very jovial way I just spoke, but then it is a very deep concept. So till the time we worry about our life, no, Krishna takes it lightly. No, till the time Draupadi was worrying about how to take care of herself, no, Krishna was not coming. In fact, no, Rukmini Devi asked Krishna that your dear devotee is in trouble. Why are you not going? So then Krishna was telling that no, she is thinking that she can take care of herself. No, I'm not needed there. So, and when she calls out to Krishna, no, lifting her hands up, and I don't have any power to protect myself. I don't have any means to protect myself. No, it is only you can save me. So then Krishna says, okay, fine. No, now she needs me. Now I'll go there. Like that. So the same thing happened. Another pastime is also there. No, somewhere near Dwarakas and some forest. No, one of the queens of Krishna, probably it's Rukmini. I don't know. So there she was there, and then suddenly a tiger attacked, and then no, she was like so much in fear, and then No, she was thinking, oh, Krishna is so far away in the palace, how he will come and protect me and things like that. So then the tiger came forward and then it scratched the body of the queen. And she naturally, like, no, she's no, like she's a consort of Krishna. So it's just an pastime. So it's happening. Nobody can actually even disturb. No, concert of Krishna means Lakshmi Devi. So here in the Leela, so it happens like this. So and then she screams out Krishna's name, and Krishna immediately comes and saves. And then she was very angry. She was saying like, "No, I am your queen, and how can you allow this thing to happen? No, this tiger has come and attacked me." And Krishna says like, "No, I wanted to come, but you were thinking that Krishna is so far away. How will he come? So that's why I couldn't able to come. So the moment you called out, I came." So that is the way like Krishna is, that he requires or he demands unconditional surrender, exclusive surrender unto him. He's an exclusive lover. He doesn't want to share his love with anyone else. He wants exclusive attention. Krishna is a person like that. He wants exclusive attention. And when we do that, then he takes the trouble of thinking about our welfare. So, those who think of their welfare, Krishna doesn't think of their welfare so much. Krishna just puts the material nature into place. Okay, like, you take care. And those who think of Krishna's welfare, Krishna becomes overly thoughtful about their welfare. Right? So that's the principle here we see. It's a very, very important principle. Okay, because of this surrender, he no longer has any attraction for wealth. Even if there is attraction for wealth, it is not for sense enjoyment, but for the service of the Lord. A pure devotee may be attracted to accumulating wealth just like an ordinary man, but the difference is that a devotee acquires money for the service of the Lord, whereas the ordinary man acquires money for his sense enjoyment. Thus, the acquisition of wealth by a devotee is not a source of anxieties, as is the case of a worldly man. And because a pure devotee accepts everything in the sense of serving the Lord, the poisonous teeth of accumulation of wealth are extracted. It is mentioned that Durdanthendriya Kala Sarpa Patale Protkhatad Amstrayate. So it talks about the uncontrolled senses are like the Kala Sarpa, and then for a devotee who's engaging his senses in the service of the Lord, the senses are like Kala Sarpa, but then it has been the fangs or the poisonous teeth has been taken off. In the same way, the money is also a very, very tricky thing. Money is like one of the most dangerous things in the world. People don't know that. People try to accumulate a lot of money, but then money brings a lot of trouble. So money is just the source of trouble. You see, like people who don't have much money, so they'll be very, very peaceful and happy. People who have some money, they will always be in anxiety when to get more money. And people who have more money, they will always be in more deeper levels of anxiety. When will anybody come and topple or anybody do any kind of thing to take over these things or cheat us and things like that? Always it is constant anxiety, right? So always it is constant anxiety. So there is one devotee in what is that? There is a devotee by name Sanatana Goswami, who is who is a like direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and then he was a minister, and then a minister in Nawab Hussain Shah's kingdom, and then at one point he gave up his ministerial post, and then he wanted to become a mendicant. And if you see this 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, Raghunatha Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, and then Jiva Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. So these 6 Goswamis, they did a tremendous work after Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So they found the lost places in the Vrindavan and lost places of pilgrimage or the Krishna's pastime places. And then they also wrote extensive literatures, and through that we could able to get very wonderful foundation for our sampradaya, for our parampara. And these devotees like this Sanatan Goswami, before he met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was a minister, and he was born in a Brahmin family, but then he was made minister in a Muslim kingdom. So then, no, he escaped from there. He was going to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So on the way, he had a servant, and the servant had some money with him. So like 10 gold coins or something like that he had. And in the overnight, no, they happened to stay in a kind of a chatra where, no, in the middle of the forest. No, sometimes some places, like in those days, people used to, if they have to cross long distance, they may have to cross over forests and things like that. So this chatra, like there is a person who's in charge of this chatra, and he has a astrologer who tells how much money each person is carrying, who is passing by the forest. And these people, they, give a very good hospitality. They make them stay in the chatra, and then they kill that person in the night and loot the money. That's the this one. And Sanatan Goswami, when he approached this chatra, this person was very, very cordial, very nicely, very sweetly he was talking. And he was given an accommodation. And Sanatan Goswami was thinking, like, no, why this person is so, what is that? There is one phrase is there, Ati Bhakti Chorer Lakshan. That means if somebody is like too cordial, than expected, that means like something wrong is there over there. It cannot happen like that. So then he himself goes, Sanatan Goswami himself goes. He asks that, first of all, he asks his servant, are you carrying some money? So then, like the servant says, instead of 10, he says probably 8 or 7 or something like that. So I'm carrying some 8 or 7 gold coins. So then Sanatan Goswami told, like, no, you give all of them. So he took, and he went to the, this one, he went to the, the chatra owner. And then he told, you see, like, no, these gold coins are there. You please have it. No, you are the right person to have it. And then the person, he confessed, you see, like, I know I have an astrologer. He tells me like who carries how much. And in fact, I was about to kill you for these gold coins. And no, I'm very sorry. Like, no, you're a saintly person and things like that. So then somehow the transaction gets over, and then Sanatan Goswami leaves the place. And this person, like, after walking a little more distance, he asks his servant, do you have some more money? And he says, yeah, like I have got some little more money with me. So I'm very intelligent. I have saved it. So then Sanatana Goswami told, like, no, you are, you will bring me death. No, if I travel with you, take this money and get lost. He just sends him off back. And then Sanatana Goswami goes without anything. So traditionally, from time immemorial, always the sadhus have practiced this vritti, not to have anything, not to possess anything, and to depend on the Lord, for their maintenance and for their sustenance. And that is the way the sadhus actually maintain themselves. And because of that, because they don't maintain anything for themselves, Krishna takes special care of them. Krishna takes personal care of them. So that is how the equation works. And the moment we have some money which is extra, which is not destined for us to have, which we are not destined to have, then it will bring so much volumes and volumes of anxiety. It is better to be there in a little bit of poor condition than to have a money which we are not supposed to have. How much is destined to us, that will come to us with a little bit of endeavor. Not too much of endeavor, not overworking and things like that. So with little bit of endeavor, whatever we get, that is what we are liable to get it in the material side. And real endeavor has to be put on the spiritual side, where we have to finish our business in the material world and get back to the spiritual world, right? So that endeavor we have to put in the spiritual side. In the material side, whatever comes by little bit of endeavor, that's what we are destined for, and we should be just happy with it. And anything more than that will be a source of trouble, will take a lot of anxiety of our life. So always we should optimize our life for Krishna consciousness. That's the best thing. Okay, so it is mentioned the difference is that a devotee acquires money for service of the Lord, whereas an ordinary man acquires money for his sense enjoyment. Thus, the acquisition of wealth by a devotee is not a source of anxieties, as in the case for a worldly man. And because a pure devotee accepts everything in the sense of serving the Lord, the poisonous teeth of accumulation of wealth are extracted. No, the wealth is considered to be like a poisonous serpent. No, if a snake has its poison removed and bites a man, there is no fatal effect. Similarly, wealth accumulated in the cause of the Lord has no poisonous teeth, and the effect is not fatal. A pure devotee is never entangled in material, worldly affairs, even though he may remain in the world like an ordinary man. Okay. Text 7. Daivena te hata diyo bhavata prasangad sarva shubhopa samanad vimukendriyaye kurvanti kama sukalesha lavaya dina lobo bi bhuta manaso kushalani sashvat. O my Lord, persons who are bereft of all auspicious performance of chanting and hearing about your transcendental activities are certainly unfortunate and are also bereft of good sense. They engage in inauspicious activities, enjoying sense gratification for a very little while. No, here we see this amazing thing. This is also a very nice compliment for all of us. We are trying to read and hear every day, the narrations of the Lord. So here Brahmaji is telling, "O my Lord, persons who are bereft of the all auspicious performance of chanting and hearing about your transcendental activities are certainly unfortunate." So we are the contrary, like no, we are very, very fortunate to hear about the Lord every day, right? Purport. The next question is why people are against such auspicious activities as chanting and hearing the glories and pastimes of the Lord, which can bring total freedom from the cares and anxieties of material existence. The only answer to this question is that they are unfortunate because of supernatural control due to their offensive activities performed simply for the sake of sense gratification. More we do sense gratification, more we will be manda in the spiritual sense, in the spiritual affairs. So we will not get that activeness in the spiritual life. The Lord's pure devotees, however, take compassion upon such unfortunate persons and in a missionary spirit try to persuade them um, into line of devotional service. Only by the grace of pure devotees can such unfortunate men be elevated to the position of transcendental service. So here we see that amazing, this one is mentioned that the devotees of the Lord, they take compassion upon such unfortunate people and then they try to persuade them into the line of devotional service. So that is why we also take a lot of trouble and anxieties for distributing this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So there's so much of work to be done, so much of work to be done. And we try to relish by chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord. That's one side of our life. The other side of the life is we take all risk and no tension for distributing this message of Krishna consciousness. So these are the two aspects of a devotee's life. So these two things we try to follow because we want to be these pure devotees. We want to become like this pure devotees, so that the Lord will become attracted to us. Only by the grace of pure devotees can such unfortunate men be elevated to the position of transcendental service. Text 8. Kshutrutrudatubir imam madur artyamana shitoshana vatavasanair itare taracha kama gninachyuta rusha cha sudur barena sampashyato manavrukramasidate me. O great actor, my Lord, all these poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion and bile, attacked by coughing winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger. I take pity on them and I am very much aggrieved for them. So Brahmaji is the Pitamaha of the entire universe. He is the grandfather of the entire universe. And as like a loving parent, he is just seeing, he's not able to see the troubles that are undertaken by the living entities who are living in this world. These are all the things that are We are constantly tormented by all these problems. No, why we have to be tormented with all these problems? Only because we don't want to take shelter of the Lord. No, that's the only problem. So because of that, no, we have to go through all these problems. And Brahmaji is telling, why not these people take shelter of the chanting and hearing of the auspicious glories of the Lord? Why do these people go through so much of suffering, life after life after life? No, he's just in that kind of anxiety. No, Brahma is actually showing this, just like a parent is seeing a suffering child and then say, why this child has to go through all these things? I told them, no, please don't do this, please don't do that. So, but still they didn't listen and they did all these things and they're suffering now. So Brahmaji is something of that sort. In that kind of a mood, he's mentioning this. Purport: a pure devotee of Lord like Brahma and persons in his disciplic succession are always unhappy to see the perplexities of the conditioned souls who are suffering the onslaughts of the threefold miseries which pertain to the body and mind, to the disturbances of material nature, and to many other such material disadvantages. Not knowing adequate measures for relieving such difficulties, suffering persons sometimes pose themselves as leaders of the people, and the unfortunate followers are put into further disadvantages under the so called leadership. This is like blind men's leading another blind man to fall into a ditch. Therefore, unless the devotees of Lord take pity on them and teach them the right path, their lives are hopeless failures. The devotees of the Lord who voluntarily take the responsibility of raising the foolish materialistic sense enjoyers are as confidential to the Lord as Lord Brahma. So, many of the devotees here, they are also helping us in the preaching activities, in following up with people, in studying the scriptures nicely and answering people's questions and things like that, and conducting classes and things like that. So here, Srila Prabhupada is writing, these kind of preachers of the message of Lord, they are as confidential as Lord Brahma. Very, very important resources for the Lord, because they are doing the very essential aspect, very essential service in the material world, that is convincing people to get back to the spiritual world, right? So they are very, very confidential personalities. And we should all of us should try to become like that. All of us should try to do something not to save the people from this material world and give them the Krishna consciousness so that they can get back to the spiritual world. Text 9. Yavat prutakvam idam atmana indriyartha maya balam bhagavato jana isha pashet tavan samsritir aso pratisankrameta vyarthapi dukkha nivaham vahati kriyartha. O my Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. Yet, as long as the conditioned soul sees the body as meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries, being influenced by an external energy. So, this is very nice. This one, the material miseries are without factual existence, for the soul. As we had, at least 2 times we had discussed this concept. I think yesterday also we discussed, that is the video game concept. So, a child is playing the video game. Everything that is happening within the game is not programmed by the child. It is programmed by somebody, and then the game is going on. And sometimes the child is happy and sometimes the child is sad if the child is not able to get its desired moves in the video game and then succeed. So the child is miserable. So but then from an external point of view, what did this video game do? Did it slap the child? Did it do something physically to the child? Nothing. No, whatever happened, it happened within the device. And why is the child unhappy? So that is the very same. This one, it will just match with our existence, our case with the material nature. We as the soul, we don't have anything to do with the activities of the material nature in this world. We don't have anything to do with the activities of this body also. This body's activities are carried out by 3 modes of nature, the material nature. And we are as good as an observer, as good as a player of the video game. If we choose, we don't need to take tension of anything. We don't need to be affected by anything. That is what it is mentioned. the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. It is our choice that we want to be disturbed by the material things. No, it is just our choice. So if a child plays the video game saying that, no, I don't want to win, or I don't want to do anything, just simply like just time pass, no, so then it will not have much anxiety. No, so in the same way, like, we should consider our real business is Krishna consciousness, and getting the lotus feet of the Lord, attaining the lotus feet of the Lord is our real business. And in this material world, it's just a time pass. No, everybody is going to die. I am also going to die in some time. So let's see, like, no, when it happens. No, till the time, I'll just be engaged in devotional service. And if I keep engaged in devotional service, if I quit my body, I'll go to another destination. I'll go back to the spiritual world, and I'll continue my service to the Lord. So what's the problem? Like, no. So in that way, we should be, it is, the material life is something like time pass. So, no, like, we just simply have to pass this time, and one day we will die. That's the only truth of this life. If somebody says what will happen tomorrow, what's going to happen, no, only one thing is sure that will happen, that is, all of us are going to die, and nothing else is sure, and nothing else is like of any value, right? So no, we should just have this thing in the mind that all of us are, someday we are going to die. And what's the point of taking so much of tension, of this life? So we just have to somehow or other pass this life. And while passing this material life, we have to intensely engage in devotional service. And then we'll make tremendous advancement, and we will be reaching the safe place or safe shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Okay. So the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. Yet, as long as the conditioned soul sees the body as meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries. Just like the video game, no, video game cannot possibly make us miserable. But till the time I get attached to the video game and I see that this game is my life and I have to win this game and things like that, it puts so much of anxieties, it puts so much of miseries and things like that. So it's exactly the same in our case. No, we're just playing a very, very long, elaborated, extended video game of this life, and then we are so obsessed about this game. No, we have got addicted to this game. No, so that's what has happened with us. And the spiritual books like Srimad Bhagavatam, no, it is just telling like, no, you are in. It is just a de-addiction program, that we are going through. We have got so much addicted to this, material life. So now we are going through a de-addiction program. So wherein we are hearing the glories of the Lord. We are hearing the glories of devotional service, which are our real activities. If we want to graphically put in the case of video game, so like it is like, we are preaching to a person who's addicted to the video game, saying that, like, you have a life also. You can sleep, you can eat. No, you can meet people. No, there are people living around you. Like, no, have you forgotten that people are living around you? So it is something of that sort we are going through. No, have you forgotten the Lord? Have you forgotten the wonderful environment of the Vaikunta? Have you forgotten the wonderful associates of the Lord? No, your friends, no, they are there in the Vaikunta. That is your real home. No, you have just got addicted to this game. And this game, every now and then, like somebody may say, okay, game is over, then it is all done. No, we have seen children playing, even game over comes, they will keep continuing to play. So, all of us have seen many, many game overs. Many, many lives has got finished, and we are dead and gone in many lives. But still, after we take birth, again, we start with renewed enthusiasm, another game, just to get killed again, just to see the game over screen again, right? So that's the condition that we are going through, right? So we should somehow or other develop deep sense of attachment to the process of devotional service. And we should have this goal, somehow or other, I should attain the lotus feet of the Lord, and I should get back to the spiritual world and serve the Lord, for his pleasure. That's our real existence. That's our real, job description, our real condition, right? So all these prayers are descriptions by Lord Brahma about the Lord. Yeah. So this is when the devotees pray to the Lord. They pray with their maturity of realization, and in this way, this gem of knowledges are coming out. So Lord Brahma is, with so much of anxiety, is telling that, oh my Lord, you see, these people are suffering like anything. What can I do for them? So it's something like that. He's praying. So he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries being influenced by external energy. Okay. Purport: the whole trouble of the living entity in the material existence is that he has an independent conception of life. He is always dependent on the rules of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord, in both the conditioned and liberated states. But by the influence of external energy, the conditioned soul thinks himself independent of the supremacy of the personality of Godhead. So okay, no, I just remember one devotee was asking that, Prabhu, like, can I not have my family? And no, I cannot enjoy with my family. I know it's my sweet family. Like, no, why should I bring Lord into the equation? No, why should he be there in middle of my family? So it's like saying that you're working in a company as a manager, and then you have been given a team, and then you are saying, no, this is my small little team, no, I will do anything and everything with this team, why should the boss come in the middle, no, with this team, and things like that. So in the same way, like, Krishna says that aham bija pradapita, no, every living entity, he is the father of every living entity, no, all our family members are Lord's resources, no, Lord is eko bahunam yo vidadati kaman, he is supplying the air, he is supplying, all the necessities of every living entity since time immemorial. So all of us are resources of the Lord, and the moment we get some resources of the Lord under us, immediately we feel, oh, this is mine, no, I will not share these resources with anyone, this is my sweet little family, and this is mine, and it is for my gratification, and no, that's it. So we see how small our thought process is, no, mama mameti, like, me and mine. So it is very, very like, what is that, problematic kind of a thought process. That's why in the scriptures constantly it is being told, no, all of us are children of God, no, and all of us are children of God. By some arrangement we have come in one particular family, let us cooperate with each other, let us serve the Supreme Lord cooperatively, right? So that's the amazing, this one, that's the way of Krishna consciousness, that's the way of rectification. No, it is not that in a company there should not be any teams. No, without teams we cannot work. So there should be managers, there should be small teams. All these things are good, but everyone should work for the company's benefit. Then it is good. If every team, starts doing their own personal work, then it goes for a toss. So that's what we are trying to do. No, all the smaller units of no family or a society or a nation, all the groups of people are there just so that we can align ourselves to serve the Supreme Lord, right? So that's our main purpose. Whatever may be the association, we should cooperate each other to serve the Supreme Lord. So, okay, where did I leave? The soul thinks himself independent of the supremacy of the personality of Godhead. His constitutional position is to dovetail himself with the desires of the Supreme Will, but as long as he does not do so, he is sure to drag on in the shackles of material bondage. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 255, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogathan. He has to give up all sort of plans manufactured by mental concoction. The living entity has to dovetail himself with the Supreme Will. That will help him to get out of the entanglement of material existence. So just like, if I'm working for a particular company, so I cannot make an independent plan. No, I have to, whatever plans I make, it should be in line with the boss's thought process or the boss's goal that he has set, right? So in the same way, we have our boss. No, it's not a very bad boss. He's a very, very sweet boss, and who loves and cares us so much. And what's the problem in aligning with him? No, it's very, very nice to be aligned with him, right? So, and ultimately he seeks our welfare. So why not we align with him? So that's the process of devotional service, right? So in this way, we can actually try to see that whatever resources we may have in form of people, in the form of wealth, or in the form of any things of this world, so we should optimize everything for the service of the Lord. We should use everything for the service of the Lord. So then we will become very, very happy, right? So that's the original purpose for which everything is there. And those who don't want to use things in service of the Lord, no, unfortunately, as Brahma is mentioning here, so they don't know the way to become happy, and they will always be tortured with so much of anxieties and problems and things like that. So simplest way to become happy is to understand that everything belongs to Krishna and everything should be used in his service. No, that's the formula to be happy, right? Okay, so we will stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.